Big breaking news that's coming in. Remember the footage that came in from Karachi of the US consulate being targeted by a violent mob. The update we can get you is from Pakistani media reports that suggest that 8 people have died in US military firing. The US military was forced to fire upon Pakistani protesters because the local police did absolutely nothing to stop the protest from going out of hand. They entered into the US consulate, and so the US military that's deployed within the consulate has resorted to firing. 8 have died. 30 Pakistani protesters have been injured in that firing. You know, we kept asking that question of how the Pakistani security allowed something like this to happen, for this escalation in protest, that they managed to even enter into the US consulate. The US military that's deployed within the US consulate for the security of the citizens of America who are based in that consulate have resorted to firing at the protesters to bring the situation under control. Pakistani media reports suggest that 8 have died as a result of US military firing. So things going completely out of hand there in Karachi. Look at the images on your screens. That is of the fire that broke out in one part of the consulate building as a result of these mobs entering, these men entering with petrol bombs as well, which they hurled at the building. The US military, looking at the emergency situation playing out, has resorted to firing at the protesters to disperse them, to move them away from the consulate premises. 8 people have died, 30 injured. That is the confirmation we have right now. A complete breakdown of law and order. Geeta, the US military has had to intervene within the establishment, within the US consulate, with hundreds of protesters there. The US military has been forced to resort to firing. 8 people have died, Geeta. Completely avoidable if the local security setup had ensured that, you know, we didn't see these kind of scenes of protesters storming into a US consulate.
Well, exactly, Akshita. That was the first observation when I was looking at the visuals, that how come there are no reinforcements? How come they got through the initial barricades inside the consulate, the security cordon, and that they're here and that there is nobody to stop them. The security apparatus within the consulate in Karachi is very high. It's always been known as a very high security zone, and it has always been known as a very sensitive posting. So certainly the fact that there are military officials inside, that's American territory, by the way. The fact that they are where they are, this is US territory that they were breaching, and so US military and security officials have all the right to ensure safety and security of their staff and their diplomats, which is exactly what the US military or US forces stationed inside did. They took matters in their own hands because the local law and order apparatus has completely failed the diplomatic mission of the United States of America. This is a serious breach, and yes, there have been killings, there have been firing. One will have to see whether if Pakistani authorities are now going to come and ensure that the crowd moves away from this space, but this is going to be a scene in many parts of the world. Let's wait and see whether if certain countries in Africa are going to show tension as well. The certain countries in Southeast Asia where there could be tensions, but a cause for worry, a cause for concern, and lots of questions for the Pakistani authorities as to why is it that they are not containing and controlling the unrest that we are seeing. This is absolute civil unrest.
Yeah, you're right. You know, you're seeing protests in some pockets of India as well, but all of it controlled, no violence breaking out in the manner that you're seeing in Pakistan. And so while you will see, sure, some protests in several parts of the world, this kind of complete breakdown of law and order, where protesters were allowed to enter inside a US consulate building, you perhaps won't see anywhere but in Pakistan. And in Karachi, things going completely out of hand as the US military had to resort to firing upon the protesters to disperse them. They were trying very hard. In the footage that we have, you can see them trying to break through the window panes, trying to enter into the building, which is why obviously there was an imminent security threat, which is what led to the US military opening fire at the protesters there to disperse them. We don't know currently what the situation is, if that entire area has been secured or not. But we can confirm for you that right now 8 Pakistanis have died, 30 injured in the firing by the US military in this unprecedented scenes that we're seeing really in Karachi, of the US consulate being stormed in this manner. Attempts by them to set the entire building on fire. There were many of them armed with petrol bombs. Some of them had massive posters of Khamenei as they entered into the US consulate. And while you will see, I'll again highlight that there are protests taking place across the world, including in pockets of India as well. None of it is escalating in the manner that it is in Pakistan because of, in fact, ensuring detailed security setups in most of these high security zones. A US consulate is an extremely high security zone. And as Geeta was pointing out, the reason the US military has resorted to firing is because you had that breach of, in fact, all of the protesters entering into what's referred to as American territory, because they were in the US consulate by the time the US military resorted to firing. And the local security officials there could do nothing to stop this particular escalation. And that's what's led now to 8 people dying and 30 injured in the US military firing upon Pakistani protesters.